A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mauni here. I hope you all are doing good. Dear friends, look at the statement of APJ Abdul Kalam. Dreams is not what you see in sleep. Dream is the thing which doesn't let you sleep. Dear friends, I see Abdul Kalam as one of the best example of a fine balance between spirituality as well as you can say science. Most of the time we find that people from science are against people from generally speaking, I'm not saying all of them, but we know that there is always a sort of tug of war going between this science portion and spirituality, and both these sides are trying to say that they are the best. Anyways, APJ is, that's what I think, that he is the best example. What do you think about him? With this, dear friends, I have a good news for you, and the good news is that flat 35% off is available on our pen drive and tablet courses. The last date for this offer is 30th November. Do check out StudyIQ.com to know more about it. Just in case if you have any queries, you can give us a call on the number that you can see on your screen. Dear friends, the first article that we have is pertaining to CICIL. I'm not sure whether you know about this thing, but let me give you a brief introduction of the line that you can see on your screen. In July 2015, CICIL was shot dead by the person that you can see on your screen. He is a doctor from America, and this sport is known as trophy hunting, right? It is known as trophy. Trophy basically means, I'm sure you we have seen the head of animal that you hunt. They are placed on your wall as a decorative piece. We have seen these things in horror movies, generally speaking, back in 90s and 2000, early 2000s horror movies, Hindi horror movies. We find this sort of trophies hanging on the wall. So anyways, this is a sport that sadly is been enjoyed by many people, and this CICIL lion was a world famous lion because it was loved by tourists. He was a very, you can say, handsome lion, and this lion was tracked by Oxford University, and this is one of the main reason, or this two are the main reason why this issue became a sort of you can say, it came into a spotlight, and the whole world was not happy about the death of this CICIL, because the people, they just ignored for the sake of their fun or for whatever other reason, they kill this animal that are supposed to die naturally without any human interference. And this incident took place in this Wangi National Park, that is in Zimbabwe. We have talked about Zimbabwe. It was in news for political reasons, right? At that point of time, I told you pay attention to this Victoria Falls and this Lake Kariba, and I would like to draw your attention on other national parks that you find in this country, Zimbabwe. With this, dear friends, see, USA has came out with Endangered Species Act, which will make it difficult for American citizens to trophy hunt. As you know now what trophy hunting is all about. But the sad thing is that they have lifted this import ban for elephants, and this will you can say, this will lead to a sort of rise in the demand of trophy of elephant and ivory and other things. Now the thing is, dear friends, there are many countries in which you have rules that you pay some money, the government has rules and regulation that you are allowed to hunt. There are some categories of lions and other animals that you can hunt if the lion is not well and things like that, if the lion is too old, etc, etc. But if you ask me, this is my personal opinion, that we should let nature do its own job rather than human beings interfering and deciding which lion is old and which one is young and things like that. We should give the natural world the space that it deserves. The other thing is that if you see here, then dear friends, you will find that 64% of trophies were exported to USA. What happens on the ground is that many a times, say for example, government allows you to kill a lion that is 15 years or plus. Then as well, there are many hunters or trophy hunters who will pay extra money to the local people or local force or local administration, and they will hunt down a very young lion, and this will disturb not only that particular lion but the whole pride, and it has a very negative impact on the whole ecosystem. The other thing is, you can see here in 1980s, at that point of time there were some 75,800 lions or 76,000 lions, and now we are less than 30,000. This is the latest one that I have got, a picture that has a, you can say, wider, it carries much information. So in 2015, you can see 2 years ago, we have nearly wiped off more than 50% of lions that used to roam around in Africa in 1980s, and things are a bit bad in see here, what this article is arguing is that, not arguing, but there are people in this world, right? They say that this trophy hunting is good because as I told you, that the money will go to the government, and it is expected, or that's how in many countries things do take place, that the money that you pay for trophy hunting is supplied to, or the money is utilized for conservation and protection of animal and things like that. Now this is not a solution at all, isn't it? Still we don't have proper research, or there are no clear-cut evidence that trophy hunting is beneficial for conservation of this animal. Now there are some people who are arguing that in India and Kenya this sort of trophy hunting is banned, but then as well there is no rise in the population of some animals, and in countries like South Africa and Namibia these things are allowed, and because of this thing they have got money from trophy hunting. Wildlife tourism has gone up, then commercial meat production has gone up, and this is helping local people to earn money out of it and things like that. Again, I am not happy with this sort of rules and regulation, and in fact this Wild CRU's own report says that sometimes it is helpful and things like that, but I see this is all part of lobbying things. There is a sort of lobbying going on in different this sort of things, right? There are people who are lobbying for guns. There are many huge gun producing companies who will lobby different governments around the world, and they will bribe and they will do everything possible to ensure that their products are sold in that market. There are many companies who are so unethical that they are more than happy to supply guns to terrorist organization as well. I have one more point for you guys here, that have you ever observed this ISIS guys, right? They are using all the latest cars that you can see. They are using Land Cruiser and Range Rovers and other cars. From where do they get their service done for their cars? They have all the tires and everything. That indicates that someone is happy to supply them for the sake of money. Now the thing is, dear friends, that what is happening in Africa at present is that there are multinational companies that are grabbing land, and this is one of the biggest issue here, that we are destroying jungles, which is very common, and it is a this sort of things are earlier as well. We have seen that Africa was under colonial rule. Now we can say that multinational companies are colonizing this African continent, and the wildlife for which it is world famous is, you can say, on a brink of extinction. If things are not stopped, then we will there could be a time when you won't find lions in Africa at all. So this is one of the most important articles, and that's why I have kept it in the first place. Now, how can India be left behind? This is a very interesting picture that you can get from the first page of the Hindu, and the name is Crouching Leopard Gun-Toting Minister. As you can see here, a minister of Maharashtra, irrigation minister, right? He is looking for a leopard, and he is armed with a pistol. Of course, it is the fault of leopard that he has not paid the respect to the minister. We know it very well that how some of our ministers behave. He has no right at all, right, to chase a leopard with a gun. Rather than that, he should be questioning why we see this sort of confrontation. But that's what happens in our country. Moving on, this one is about school education. Again, one of the most important article in today's Hindu, and it starts with saying, referring this book called An Uncertain Glory, India and Its Contradictions. It is written by Jean Dress and Amartya Sen. So remember the name of the book, just in case in many exams you find this sort of questions pertaining to books, like this book is written by which person, etc., etc. Or you may be given the name of the author, and then you have to identify the book that is written by that author. So this is a book, name of the book, keep this thing in mind. And it also shares a quote with us of Rabindranath Tagore. And what Rabindranath Tagore said, he said that the imposing tower of misery which today rests on the heart of India has its sole foundation in the absence of education. The problems that we used to have 90 years ago, at that point of time, Mr. Tagore said that all the problems, all the misery is because of absence of education in our country. Today as well, the things have not changed, right? All the things, may it be politicians fooling us around by giving us fake promises, whether it is fake news, whether it is women empowerment, everything, all the issues that we have, it will take you, or the root of all the problems and misery that we have is because of lack of education. And I must say here that education not only means it is not enough that you have a degree, that means that you are educated. No, we find that particularly when you start preparing for competitive exams, right, you have to read, most of the time people tell you that you have to read NCERTs. Now I'm not saying that you should not, of course you have to, no doubt, but have you ever wondered why we have to read NCERTs again? Right? Isn't it a matter of shame that we have to read all those books that we have already gone through? And many a times we find that students are facing problem with economics, right? Students are facing problems with history. They find history boring, and geography is something that they don't understand. There are a variety of issues going on around with students from all different parts of our country, and this indicates that something is wrong with our schooling system, isn't it? If you go through the notification of, I'm not talking about other exams, right, but specifically if you go through the notification of UPSC Civil Service Examination, then you will find a very interesting line there, that this examination is for a well-educated, or you can say an educated person, right? And it clearly says that you don't need expert knowledge, all you need is basic understanding. And then as well we are finding it so difficult because from our very initial interaction, or you say the day when we started learning, or the whole schooling system, right, we were forced to get as many good marks as possible rather than developing a conceptual clarity. Today as well we see that we are using all the latest gadgets and things like that, but then as well we are so shy, isn't it? This, I have observed this thing, and this is one of, you can say, a drawback of our education system. I'm sure you might have gone through it, and I have some practical examples as well. If you go through some of the comments, right, many a times some student will say that I am the first one to view this video, and you will find some people passing some stupid comments that shall we give you a medal or things like that. Now this is something that was practiced in the class as well. Many a times when you have a doubt, when you raise your hand and when you ask a question, if the question looks a bit funny to some other people, the whole class will laugh, and this will stop you forever. I'm sure many of you have gone through this sort of experience. If you meditate on this thing, then you will find that this is one of the reasons. You are not naturally a shy person, but this thing has created a sort of mental, you can say, hurdle. From that point of time, you have decided that I will never face public ever in my life. Anyways, dear friends, I can go on and on, but let's come to the main topic that is here. Of course, the things that we have discussed is for your so far is for your education, and this will help you not only in your essay writing. This could be a very good topic for your essay writing as well, that absence of education is the main, you can say, creator of misery in our country. You should think about it. What are the issues that are pertaining to education and other things? Anyways, so what this article is talking about, that we keep on saying that the literacy levels are going up or the literacy rates are going up, but we know that when you conduct a test on the so-called literate kids of our country, then we find that most of them cannot read as well. If you go through the reports of multinational companies, then they say that the graduates, even the postgraduates of our country, of India, I'm not saying that everyone, right, but you know it very well that these are the problems through which we are going through. So what MNCs are saying, that it is very difficult to train Indian youngsters or Indian graduates and postgraduates, because the whole thing is the more emphasis is on marks rather than interpersonal skill, how to communicate. These are the things that are more important in today's world. The era of IQ has gone. It is out of date now. It is more about you can say emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, right? EQ is the new thing, or this is the thing that is going to rule this industry for a very long time. Anyways, so this OECD's program for international student assessment, in that as well we are not taking part, because we know that we are going to be very bad here. And if you go through the data of Ministry of Human Resource Development, HRD ministry, then we find that we have first of all, we have a shortage of primary school, right, around our country. And then you find that say for example, if 10 students are enrolled in primary school, then in secondary school, right, you will find that the numbers will drop down. So there are a high number of dropouts in this primary school itself or primary level, and as you climb higher and higher, you will see that the classroom will get smaller and smaller. The other thing is that teachers, we have a lot of them, but again the quality of teachers is bit okay-ish and not that good, because many a times, I don't know whether you have seen this or not, I have seen literally in some government colleges and schools that teachers do bring all the vegetables and fruits and everything, and they are cutting their vegetables for their home thing, and students are helping these teachers out. This is not about one particular teacher, this is about the whole system. This indicates that there are so many loopholes in the system, and this sort of teachers are there in you can say in this education sector. There are many colleges I have seen openly they allow doing all this copy and all these things during the final exams, and this is just to project that the college has good pass out result. I'm sure you have our country is a very interesting country. In different parts of our country there are many other incidents. If you have come across any sort of this thing, if you have seen something like this, then do share your views about this thing in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. I would love to know what are the things that are going on in other parts as well. Now we know right to education, many private players, they consider this right to education as a burden for them, because they have to reserve some seats for poor kids, isn't it? And this is creating problem for the private players. The private schools are not happy about, private schools are not happy about this right to education at all. And we know that government schools should be leading, or they should be the drivers of change in our society, but sadly they are not. Teacher training is something that is badly required, and we need to invest all we can, right? If you don't have good teachers, right, then you are not going to produce bright minds. This is a very basic requirement. We need infrastructure for teacher training. we need to learn from the best countries in the world, and I have a very good example here of Finland, right? Finland is considered one of the best country in the world when it comes to education, and it is at present exporting its education model to different parts of the world, to different countries, because it has proven that this can be done. And if you see in other human development aspect, and if you see in terms of inequality, then you will find that very less inequality you will find here. The way of or the standard of living is quite high in this country, and it is quite interesting that your formal education will start at the age of 7. Can you believe that in our country nowadays, to make more money, you have this pre-LKG, pre-kindergarten, and you know, this playhouses. I have seen, you can see playhouses everywhere around our country, and they make, of course, money out of this playhouse. They teach you ABCD and things like that. But in Finland, no sort of education is imposed on a child. The child is allowed to grow till 7 years of age, and there are many things written on this thing as well, and it is said that till the age of 7, an individual or a child is not affected by the rules and regulation of society. You will find that a child that is younger than 7 years, right, he or she would not feel any sort of shame for not wearing any clothes. And this is a very you can say example. I'm sure you all have seen something like this, and this is because they are as natural as possible till 7. After that, you can train them for society and things like that. And this has been proven by Finland, because it is doing quite well in this thing. Now, when we talk about teachers training, as I told you, we need to learn from other countries. So selection process of teachers in this country, Finland, is very rigorous. It is as difficult something like becoming IAS in our country. And once you are selected, then you go through a very rigorous. It's not a sort of painful training. When I say rigorous, it means it is a very systematically designed training program that will train you and make you the best, possibly the best in the world when it comes to teaching. The other thing is the working condition in the schools of Finland is based on trust, right? You don't have, or the schools and the parents are not putting any sort of pressure on the teachers regarding marks and things like that. The teachers, they are not forced, you can say, to perform in the sense good marks are not something that is the only thing that will show that you are performing well. There are other things as well. It is very difficult for us to understand this thing, but yes, this is proving it is showing its result, this thing. Apart from that, there is flexibility of working over there, and there is no pressure on school from the society or the government. And lastly, I would say that the value or the respect that a teacher gets in Finland is quite higher than what we pay to our teachers in our country. So there are many reasons. As you can see, there is a fine balance of society, and society is also playing a very important role here. So that's this is the thing, right? As I have told you, there are many things that can be implemented in our country, and as soon as we sort this thing out, the sooner we do this thing, the sooner we would be able to reap the dividend of our demographic strength that we have. We know that we are a young nation, and this will help us to develop our country as soon as possible. With this, dear friends, today you find an editorial on this story of Hadiya. You know that she was known as Akhila earlier on. Then in 2015 she converted to Islam and became Hadiya, and 2016 January to September, right, her case was going on in Kerala. In at the end of this 2016, she married a man called Sefin, and Saifin is a Muslim man. So it was alleged that this thing is for love jihad and converting Hindu girls into Muslim and sending them to ISIS and things like that. But and the sad thing is that I don't know why we see conversion as a sort of heading towards this sort of extremism. There is nothing like it at all. And this is many a times you find there are many people around the world, right? They do embrace Islam, and they embrace, once they know it, they are embracing it, and it is allowed in our constitution. And it is very sad when we find that High Court nullified the marriage of this girl. And you know it very well that above 18, right, a girl is free to marry any person she likes as far as things are legal between these two parties. And this girl is an adult. She was an adult during the time of her marriage, and the High Court nullified her marriage. So this is a very, you can say, patriarchal, as well as I would say that a sort of racial stand as well of the court. But the Honorable Supreme Court has sorted out the issue of this girl here, right? She is free, and Supreme Court has said that she can get back to her studies and things like that. And of course, on the other hand, the Supreme Court has also made it clear that the National Investigation Agency can continue its ongoing probe, whether this sort of things are done for ISIS or whatever it is. Let these agencies do their investigation. There is no harm in it. But the thing is, any probe into this phenomenal need not be at the cost of individual liberty. We have to ensure this thing. With this, you have one more editorial on Nepal's political thing. We know that Nepal had gone through the first, you can say, phase of election is over, and second phase is going to be it's not far, right? It's just around the corner. It is talking about what is the political situation in Nepal, what part is doing what, etc., etc. And I believe that one of the most important thing for us, for all those students who are preparing for competitive exam, is to focus on what are the things we find it here in Nepal that are good for India. And it is about keeping a fine balance between China and India, right? We have to ensure that our age-old relationship with Nepal is protected. And because populism is something, populism basically means the things that are sought by people, rather than, even if they are not right for the society, then as well political parties will go with it. So this is called a popular demand, basically, is something that has always played a dominating role in the politics of Nepal. Moving on, dear friends, this is all about AAP party, right? Aam Aadmi Party of Arvind Kejriwal, how it started and things like that. You can ignore it. This is a very funny picture that I saw. It says that after Rajasthan, then you have Madhya Pradesh, and then Gujarat. Finally, the Nitish Kumar, that is the Bihar as well, bans Padmavati. And let's head towards the news item. Dear friends, you might have observed that I have made a little bit change in the way or the format of this slide. So do let me know what you think about this format, right? I would love to hear from you. Again, as I told you, dear friends, please, your feedback matters a lot to me. If you want, I can switch back to the older version, but I personally believe that this one is more refined and better version. But again, if you tell me, then I'm more than happy to switch back to older version. As you can see here, this is a robot called Mitra, and you can see Prime Minister Narendra Modi with Ivanka Trump. She is here for Global Entrepreneurship Summit that took place in Hyderabad, and PM said that government is aware about environment of transparent policies and rule of law for providing a level playing field for everyone and for ease of doing business as well. Transparency and rule of law is very important. PM urged all the delegates, or all the people from 150 countries were present here. He said he urged them to come, make in India, invest in India, for India, and for the world. This is a 3-day global entrepreneurship summit. This is co-hosted by India and USA, and this is the first time that it is taking place in South Asia. And the interesting part is that 50% of the delegates are women. Ms. Trump talked about education and technology and how it can change the lives of women entrepreneurs, and she also said that once we will close this gender gap, we can add $150 billion to Indian GDP. With this, telecom regulators, that is TRAI, has backed, or TRAI is in strong support for net neutrality. We talked about this. USA is going to come out with a law somewhere around in the mid-December 2017, which will change the way internet is working, and what this internet service provider wants. You can understand with the help of this picture here. See, this is how they want us to work, right? At present we have this system. So if you go on the Google, or if you go on the internet, if you are looking for something, then freely you will get things, right? But here, when you curb this net neutrality, you will be this ISPs, or these companies as well as this internet service providers, will decide what are the things that should be catered to you. So this is a breach of freedom itself, and this is a stand that is taken by TRAI. TRAI has said that no discrimination is permitted in treating content, and everyone should make sure that net is neutral. Supreme Court has said that it is very strange that when a case or a matter that is pending before the Central Board of Film Certification, CBFC, how can persons in public authority, there are many CMs, as you can see that funny picture, that there are many CMs who are passing their comment on this Padmavati film. So Supreme Court has said that it's better to shut your mouth before this CBFC comes out with any sort of decision. With this, Chabahar Port is in news, dear friends. Iranian president has inaugurated the first, he is going to inaugurate this first phase, and Afghan and Indian ministers will be present here, dear friends. Apart from that, he has also talked about this international North-South trade corridor. Now let me quickly take you to, or let's go through this portion here, right? This is India here, and from here we are going to connect ourselves with this Chabahar Port. From Chabahar we are going to supply things, and we are going to bring things from Afghanistan. So because Pakistan is here, we are not allowed this land access, so we are using this waterways, and waterways is much cheaper as well. Now talking about Russia and India, or this north-south trade corridor, dear friends, it connects Russia with India, and not only Russia and India, but other Central Asian countries will get connected with India. So this is a good, you can say, corridor. So far we use this red route that you can see here. It is a very long route, and it will of course add more expense in transportation and things like that. So this is a very good route, and Chabahar is a very important port here. And with this we have Russia in news again. An agreement on information security was signed in October 2016, and both the nations have signed comprehensive agreement on security pertaining to this narcotic smuggling, disaster management and terrorism. We know that both the countries are affected by terrorism, and Home Minister is in Russia. So this was done during that point of time. India seeing increasing formalization. Arun Jaitley has written an article, and the name of this article is "The Fiction of Loan Waiver to Capitalist." You know that opposition parties were alleging that the India government is supporting this or is waiving the loans that are taken by this willful defaulters. So based on this thing, he has clarified an article that is signed by Finance Minister is out there. You can read it, and I have provided you a bit of gist of this article. What he is saying, that this is all rumors. He said that formalization of economy is going up, and this will help a lot. And here, with the help of this chart, he has helped us to understand that actually the default loans, or you can say NPAs, were 7,33,000, but since the government Modi government came in, they realized that the things that were under carpet came out, and this is one of the reason why you feel that the NPAs have gone up. In fact, as per this article, this issue was created during UPA regime, and because it was thrown under the carpet, it was not visible. But when this government came in, it went through all the figures, and then we realized that it is not this much, it is this much that is in and as NPA. With this, dear friends, I have answers yesterday's question: Akbar, Entreport and Madagascar. And you have today's question: an aquatic plant introduced from America to check pollution turned out to be troublesome weed in Indian water bodies. The name of this plant is a Opuntia. Then you have Aegilops, then you have Richhornia. There are very difficult scientific terms, I beg your pardon. Pistia. And the second question is: the word ecosystem was coined by Charles Darwin, Robert Whittaker, Arthur Tensley or Ernst Haeckel. And the third one is name the chairman of National Anti-Profiteering Authority. With this, dear friends, would like to remind you again about the 35% off. Last date is 30th November. Do check out our YouTube channel. You'll find many interesting videos on our channel, and don't forget to subscribe. If you want to download this file, I will share a link of this file on my FB page, and I hope that you will to share this file and this video lecture with your friends, and I hope you will help us spread the word regarding this initiative. Enjoy your studies, dear friends. I will see you all soon. Till then, Jai Hind.